This is my first podcast interview with Dr. Jamilieh Manoochehri. So what's your role at DMU?
I'm subject head for professional studies, coordinator of third year, and a member of the school management group at the School of Architecture. I'm in charge of the postgraduate diploma in architectural practice, which is a 2-year part-time course. It's open to candidates who have completed their studies in architecture or are still in the process of completing the last stage in order to qualify as architects. In our third year, I coordinate the four modules that form the structure of the third year. And I'm module leader for the design module, which runs through the academic year. As module leader, I lecture on architectural design and history, and I run one of the 8 studio groups in the year. I also run 2 seminar groups for history and theory, one at undergraduate level and one at postgraduate level. Both of these are on the subject of housing and dwelling. The students in these look at what constitutes a home and history of the development of housing. They review these from different theoretical points of view. And these may be based on what different authors have written, based on the study of architectural history, anthropology, social and cultural issues, or philosophy and the like.
Okay, so what's the basis of your research?
My research has been mainly on the subject of social housing. It started with me looking at space standards in social housing and investigating the background of social policies, policies that led to changes in space standards in this type of housing. I've been focusing more on the subject of social sustainability recently and how housing fits into this subject. I wrote a monograph on politics of social housing in the UK, which was published in 2012. In it, I wrote about key historical stages that showed the shifts in social policy and housing policy that affected standards in social housing. In terms of current research, I hope to carry out a case study that looks at the effects of dislocation and dispersal on individuals and how being removed from one's social network affects an individual and how this finds a spatial expression.
So why is this research important to you?
I think social housing and standards in social housing make a difference to the quality of life of their inhabitants. And I think that when we get these wrong, we create very unappealing social landscapes and with it, unhealthy social conditions. I think academics have a responsibility to find out what the effects of these issues are and to help find solutions for them.
So is this research important to DMU, and if so, why?
I think the whole subject has an impact on communities and on the society as a whole. And as such, it should interest policymakers. Its importance to DMU is in the fact that as an academic institution, it has a role to play in showing shortcomings of current practice through observation, analysis, and theorizing. And it has the potential of making proposals for better policy and practice.
What got you interested in this field of research?
Many years ago, when I was a practicing architect, there were many changes in the methods of procurement, and the design and build method was promoted very strongly at the time. Then most architects were worried that this method of procurement lowered the quality of buildings. And at the time, I felt that I could see this in social housing as well. This started my PhD research in the background of policy making and how the social values of policymakers influenced social policy. And as a result, they influenced standards in social housing.
How do you feel this research could benefit the community or the general public?
The square mile is said to have a 50% turnover of inhabitants of social housing over a relatively short time. This issue of dislocation, dispersal, and breaking of social networks becomes relevant in order to find out what the effects are on people. If such a study can show that the social and human cost outweigh the current financial considerations, it can then make a case for rethinking policy.